Hi, Sriram.
Hello.
Good morning. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing fine.
Okay. So in today's session, uh, yeah, Jesslyn has messaged me. She's joining a little half an hour late. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, what we'll cover in today's session, we'll have uh, yeah. So we are into lesson 12. uh, Python automations. Okay. And the coverage for this session would be like introduction to automation. We'll start with some SDLC processes. Okay. Software development, just some basics here. Okay. With this introduction. And then we go into web scraping. We'll look at other modules called image recognition, Selenium and robot test framework. This is all about testing and automation and testing. Okay, so that's the overall topic for Python automations. Okay, this module stands by itself because it uses um, mostly Python packages which have no dependency on the previous modules. Okay, so yeah. How about let me ask the last class, the Flask session, it would take some learning curve, okay? But were you able to try out some things in the time you could get building the to-do app? At least get on that path, okay? It will help you get some hands-on, and that's important for learning. Okay, uh, if you are a little more hands-on, then it'll help you. Okay. Okay. So shall we start? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So here we have software development lifecycle processes. So before we even get to automation, I want to, yeah. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of the software industry, there is a process of building and testing and deploying applications. In short, it's called software development lifecycle. Okay, software development lifecycle, or SDLC in short. Okay, SDLC. Okay, which goes through certain stages, be it anything you build. Okay, so before you even start the project, you have a lot of planning which go into the project, in terms of you can say it's a project plan. One moment. Yeah, hi Jocelyn. Yeah, good evening Jocelyn, how are you? We just started. Can you confirm you can see the screen? Pardon me, Sriram, just hold on, I'll make sure. We are just starting. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through. uh, okay, yeah, I just quickly repeat what you just missed, Jocelyn. Okay, this section is Python automation. Okay, it covers, I mean, we start with some basics on software development lifecycle. Okay, and then an introduction to automation. which covers various aspects of automation. Here we'll be looking at several Python packages. Web scraping is one common activity. Then image recognition, okay. And then some of the other modules all about automation testing. So we use packages like Selenium, uh, and then robot test framework. We also cover some other packages inside this, like PyTest and so on. So this is our coverage. Okay. So we just started with software development lifecycle, and just confirm to me, Jesslyn, you are able to see the screen. Okay. So software development lifecycle, in short, SDLC, refers to the various stages of the software development. Okay. Whenever anything is mentioned as life cycle, it has got more than one stage the phase of that development goes through. Okay. So here, in terms of building software, uh, we have the development, testing, maintenance, and so on. So the various activities are typically one, before even you start with planning phase. Okay, the planning phase is mostly where you have a team being formed, you have certain scope of activities, what you want to do. It could be like a project, okay, which you have to do, and that project could have various, uh, scope of activities, okay. Uh, or in other terms, it could be called SOW, or scope of work. Okay, scope of work. So there are a couple of types of projects. One, it could be like you are implementing. Two, it could be like you're building something from scratch. Okay, totally new. Okay, often it could be one or the other. Okay, so no matter what you do, you have to build a team. You have certain planning which goes into it. Okay, so the first stage is planning at a very high level. uh, Includes like you want to form a team. You could be you could be having to hire various resources in the team. You could be trying to have a project plan built, a project management office built, all that initial part of the project plan. You come to review in terms of you know how the project is initiated. Okay, there is a certain date in which you would want to kick off that project officially to start. Until then, we are just planning. Okay, so it could be like internal reviews, and finally one day comes where you decide to have a project kickoff. Okay, that's officially when the project starts. So various planning activities. Okay. Uh, so that's your first stage. Then in terms of here, the planning, by the time you're planning, you could be, if it's a client project, okay, there are even pre, uh, before the project implementation, there are other activities like let's say if it's an implementation, you demonstrate the product to a prospective client. Okay, those are coming under pre-sale activities. So you are yet to sell a product to the client, but before that, the client wants to see the demo or things like that. Okay, so it could also be like that, where it's a standard product which an organization has been known to sell. It could be an ERP where, the product which you want to sell, you take a certain time slot with the customer and showcase in a demo. Okay, it could be over the web, it could be a direct presentation like that. Okay, So several activities going, but definitely when you get to a project, in in terms of a customer project, the customer is handed and awarded a project to the implementing company, okay, or the company where you would be working. Okay, so the planning part of it contains all these pre-sale activity. So, and by then the project is clear. Okay, we are yet to start. They will be hiring the team members, and then the team is formed. A center of excellence can be formed with various skills required for that project. It could be like technical skills, it could be like functional skills. If it's a product development, there is some, um, skills in terms of technical, in terms of how. So technical skills are mostly where you write code and all that. Where functional skills, meaning there are team of functional domain experts who know about that domain. Okay, it could be banking, it could be healthcare, any of these domains. You need some domain experts who have worked in that industry. So planning requires like bringing all those team members, forming a team and all that. Okay. Now, in this planning stage, if it's a customer project, you could be gathering requirements from the customer. Initially, let's say the product was demonstrated before the sell, right? Before in pre-sales. So the customer saw the demo, but he might have some his own requirements, his own perception, which may or may not be in your product. Okay, in the product of your organization. So then there is some functional domain experts who will interact with that business users of the client. All that, okay, yet to start, but they will in that planning phase, such scope of work would be already determined. Now, now one day the project starts with a kickoff, meaning a project team is formed internally. That means your organization could have one or two, three projects going on. So they just form a new project team. And then one fine day, a project initiation meeting happens. Okay. Now here there is some various roles inside the organization. There could be a project management office, a PMO team, who whose job is to go, their group of project managers who review several projects. So in this project also they'll review for whether you have met all the standards of starting a project. Without those standards being met, they will not kick off the project. Okay, so is the team in place? If the team is not in place, are most of the members out there? Are they aware what they are supposed to be doing? All that. Okay, so that goes on with very much in terms of quality processes. All that. Are they aware of how the standards inside the project have to be followed? It could be coding standards. It could be certain software quality documentation standards and all that. Okay, so that go along. Okay, with that phase. Now, once the project is kicked off, let's take the context of there are two contexts still. One, it could be your core developing a product, you have still not taken it to a client, whereas other could be your product is already there and you're implementing. Okay, most of the companies in India, they're SIs or system implementers. That means they already have something and they are implementing. Okay, they're not building from scratch. So that's one. Okay. So whereas if it's the other way, if it's built from scratch, some domain experts gather together to build that product. Okay. Now at the start, let's take the context of a client project. At the start of the project, there is some these domain experts who are functional consultants or functional experts. They, let's take a banking or insurance. Okay, even insurance. So the insurance domain experts will get once a project is kicked off, they will get in some detailed discussions with the uh, the client business users. Okay, and the client business users are the ones who know what their business is for a long time. Okay, they are domain experts from that insurance company. So then these sort of domain experts from the implementer, your organization, will get in conversation with the domain business users from the um, insurance organization or a bank. Okay, so in this context, that conversation is centered around the scope of work, or SOW, scope of work, shortly called scope of work. And they go through every line item. Oh, you want this particular type of function, you want a certain payment to happen. All the features of their requirements are discussed. Of course, the domain experts from our side know our product. The functional consultants of our side know how our product works, but it's a matter of getting this to fit to the customer requirements. So then they get into detailed analysis discussions of the requirement. This phase is called the requirement gathering and or requirement analysis phase. Okay, so the project is moved from the planning, and it started, and the whole team of our implementer in our organization goes and discusses with the client in detail, gathering the requirements and analyzing what is to be done at a certain level. It's not too detailed level, but it's still at a certain high level. They might formulate, or around this phase is a lot of documentation. They will formulate requirement gathering documents. They could also find some gaps, meaning our product is having some 1, 2, 3 feature. The fourth feature is something which the client has asked for, so that's not there in your current product. So it's a gap. Okay, so detailed analysis takes place to even gather requirements on gaps, and how those gaps can be designed, developed, and implemented. So now, after this requirement analysis it goes for, typically for large projects, could be like uh, it could be like 1 to 2 months for large projects. Okay, and then the design phase starts. Okay, the design phase is like they transform these requirements into document, into software design documents. So this design is still not software design. It's documenting the design. Okay, and it could be design of certain module. It could be design of certain feature. So mostly this design translates the features and functions, what's required in the analysis phase, into a certain high-level design. And here, this could have a high-level design, which is functional design, how the product should function, or it could also have a low-level design, a high-level and a low-level design. The low-level talking about how the software will work in terms of technical aspects as well. Okay, so this design is all around documentation. It's like they take this design, get it reviewed and all that. So these two stages are completely, 1, 2, 3 are completely documented. Okay, now the design is received by some software developer. Okay, now the software developer gets this design document. Oh, this is what you have to build. By then, which module? Maybe it's a HR module. By then, which module? Maybe it's a finance module. Okay, it could be a banking module. It could be some insurance module. Okay, so all this is clear. Okay, and this technical aspect, that software application developer also writes some technical design. Okay, and gets to check, okay, if this design will fit the requirement. Okay, so this is module technical design. So that design could even have some pseudo logic. You remember way back we discussed there is something called pseudo logic. Okay, now pseudo logic is like not code. Okay, we wrote like some logic like um, how to calculate. Take the example of how to make some pizza or how to make a cake. So you put down various steps. Okay, step by step, what has to be done, mix the ingredients, things like that. Okay, so identifying the steps at a high level still is pseudo logic. Okay, pseudo logic is not real code, but it will have like start this, get the first ingredients, mix them, heat it, and then things like what are all the steps at that level. Now, pseudo logic transforms to some code. Okay, so the developer would try out and test, at his end what will work, and then update the design document. Okay, now once that is done, by now it's clear what type of code will be written. Now this gets reviewed by the project team. You're never doing anything by yourself alone. Huh? So here you're taking that low level technical design document, reviewing with some reviewers of the senior members of the team, peer reviewed, things like that. And they would give comments and all that. So design might even be taken, through serious reviews and correction. Okay. Now that is there, and once you are at a certain point ready to move to development stage, that's when it is an implementation. Okay, so at design, it's still not code, it's a document. Now comes the application developer, gets the design document in a quick manner, he will just build the code. Okay, so he will build the development pieces of the feature or the functions, puts together everything, and that development is done at a certain folder, at a project folder, and in that folder are some complement some component files that gets to the code. Okay, now this component files are to be built. You could build uh, one one feature, another feature, like that. Okay, so there is a methodology to go about building. In this phase, I'll get to it. But typically, when the build is done, this developer himself will do a unit test. Okay, that developer himself or herself will do that unit testing. That means that particular feature is testing. A unit testing is one testing which the developer will do on a single unit of code. It could be like one script. Okay, so unit test. Okay, then that unit uh, test even could be a module. That module, all the features within that, all the scripts within the module is tested. Again, still it's unit test. Okay, now when this feature one has to be tested, it could be tested with other uh, features, okay, which are outside the specific module. So when that's called, it's called an integration testing, how end to end the flow happens. Okay, so inside the implementation, there is two testing features like unit test, integration test. Now, let's say you're releasing a certain module. Okay, with these requirements, you met the requirements, you unit test as a developer, you unit tested as a developer, and you also got this functional tester to check all the features are working within the module. There could be an end-to-end flow testing which goes across various modules. How this module integrates with the other module. Okay, so that's an end-to-end testing where the whole flow is tested. Okay, so that's end-to-end testing, or an integrated testing. Okay, or integration testing. Okay, Following that, this is ready to release. So the development user, they have various other stages. I'll come to it, but the development of this module, let's say it's some feature, okay, and that's rolled into some uh, various instances, copies of various instances available. That means they have a development environment, then they have a test environment, and then they have a production environment, they have a quality environment. So copies of a single environment is available within the organization. Typically these could be in different servers. Okay, so in that the stages of development goes through development unit, test environment, then uh, uh, the production environment. So at least three stages, and the fourth could be a quality testing. Okay, so the point I'm making here is, in this implementation, the end user could also be a part of it. See, now everything is ready. The client can be brought in to test and accept things. Okay, so that's called user acceptance testing, UAT. So following that, only a release is made. Okay, so software module is ready based on all the client requirement, and a release is made into uh, from the test environment, they make a release into the production. Okay, that's called a live environment or a production environment. So the production environment is a real uh, application which is used by the client's end customers. Okay, the client's end customers, and when they release it, it's called going live. Okay, going live. That means they take a certain day on the project plan and say everything is, all modules put together, everything is working. And so now we are confident that this system can be used instead of the old system. Okay, so there are sub activities, but at a high level, they release it on a certain date, meaning go live. From today on, all the transactions will go to that system instead of the old system. Okay, so things like that. Or if it's a totally green field, we call it green field, where there is no software existing with the client on that particular type of software application. So it could be like, let's say it's a newly started insurance organization, and they're taking our product totally new. Okay, so then we don't have to take old data and put it into the new system, correct? So in such environments, a total new system is launched on a certain date. Okay, so whatever it is, the day on which it goes live, it's a day in which end customers will start transacting on the system. So it's called go live date. Now what happens between this user acceptance and go live? Of course, there are that client organizations users don't know to use this product, right? They just given requirements at a high level, tested it, but they have not got hands-on. So some training will be given to the key users and the end users. Okay, so based on that, they all know to transact. Okay, end users. Okay, so this is the client users, the business users will now get some learning curve on this new product. They'll get comfortable, and of course their end customers, it could be like you took an insurance policy, and now let's say ING, some Max Life of India, some insurance organization, those company business users are comfortable with the system, but the end policy is taken by the customer, their customer, right? So they will log in, okay, and they'll start transacting. So the new system is live. Okay, now new system is live, everybody is transacting, things could be ideally happy, but of course there could be issues, right? The end client is trying to meddle with it, and it broke something, it's not the way they want. So then it comes back to maintenance mode. So it comes back for some changes. Okay. Typically, nobody will go about touching the system once they go live. But however, there will be a bug tracking, an issue list tracking, which are fixes in the software. There could be bugs, there could be code fixes, which will come back to the developer, hey, fix this list of values, it is not having sufficient information, or fix this way, the third step of booking a policy is, it's not the way we want. So this changes come in a certain manner to the team. The project is managed by a project manager, is a PMP certified project manager who could be handling the whole project, which is like a certain level of certification for project management. Okay, and he goes about dealing with an issue list, a bug tracking system, a list of bugs and fixes which have to be done, and he'll interact back with you. Okay, back with the functional experts, back with the software developer to go about fixing things, and those maintenance releases also will go back on certain dates. Okay, so it could be like once a quarter. If it's a very large organization, they'll release the software bugs and new features once every quarter. In a year, 4 releases, things like that. Or it could be like once a year, some maintenance fix based on how the client requires. So this at a high level is a cycle. Again, those fixes can go to a planning phase, so the cycle is iterative. Now, when I said somewhere down here, there is a plan, the whole implementation could take two approaches. One approach is called a waterfall model. Okay, that means they took 100 requirements, they started to go behind and finished entire 100 requirements, okay, and released it. This could take a year or two, but they did it. Okay, so that is a waterfall model. Another model is an agile methodology. Okay, so typically in agile methodology, they don't wait for the entire 100 to be ready. They get started with whatever they can and do a run up. Okay, that's called a sprint. Okay, so sprint means I think it copies some American soccer, American football, or so they run till a certain point. Again they restart. Again they run to another line. Again they restart. It's sort of like that. Okay, that means they're not taking all 100 requirements and running through and completing in one shot. They take some stage by stage sprint approach. Okay, that's an agile methodology. So typically two methodologies I'm talking about. One is a waterfall model, another is an agile methodology. Okay, I think I've given at a certain high level what this is, and this is sufficient at this point of time. Do you have any questions anywhere? Feel free to ask. Okay, so that there are finer things. I'm not going into all that. Okay, at a very high level, this is the level of info you need. There is a cyclical process. It goes through, any software goes through SDLC. Okay, and these are the stages. Just to be aware of that. Okay, because deep down it's got a lot more, and we don't need to look at it at this point. Okay, so at a certain stage, now we are talking about automation. Okay, so in the testing stage, typically I was talking about uh, unit test, okay, integration test, and uh, yeah, and user acceptance test. Those are types of testing there. But as a software developer, okay, as a software developer, you will do write code and test your own code. Okay, so that's manual testing. Okay, when you manually test your code, that's manual testing, obviously, but you can automate certain tests. So this part of the session is all about uh, automating some of the tests, okay? Tools for automation and so on, okay? So we will go through, let me just present this deck here. So the concepts of automation we are going to look at, I've just classified into these 7 topics, okay? One, we'll be knowing through some core concepts of material design. Again, don't be scared what it is. I will just introduce you there. There is one aspect with Python called web scraping, which is nothing but gathering data from websites. Okay, we'll go through it. Okay, and next we'll see automated login. Okay, there are various packages, this is beautiful soup, this is mechanical soup, these are all Python packages. Okay, this is with automation in terms of login. Okay, and testers know what's known as Selenium. This is another product. Again, it's a Python package for testing. Okay. And yeah, we'll check how you open a web page and test automated testing with this package. Other type of testing could be image recognition. Okay. I will get to it, but image recognition is all about identifying objects. Uh, could be like there are certain types there, like you could be counting, you could be classifying, and all that. So this image recognition. Um, then we have finally 2 other testing. PyTest, which is again a Python-based test uh, package, and we have a test framework. Another, this also a framework, and here this is robot testing framework. Okay, this is another testing tool. So we are going to go through quite a few testing tools, and yeah, it's a fairly simple. Don't get too over concerned. There is just a scoop of few of the common testing tools available, and we are not we just got several other advanced tools. We're not going into that. Okay, this is a fairly simple. Okay, now material design, I'll start with, is actually a design language that combines successful design with innovation and technology from Google. Now, what happened? Okay. Jocelyn? Yeah. Yeah, Jocelyn, can you see my screen? Okay. So, material design is a design philosophy from Google. Okay. It is a design language that combines successful design with innovation and technology. Why this is important? Okay. You could start building the software without this design. But overall, it should not look like a box there, a color here, everything does not, when you bring all the features and modules together, everything does not look coherent. So they sat together and formed what's called a material design from Google. Okay. So based on, they gathered some designers from the industry, put together what could be acceptable across as a common language, or this is what's called material design. Now, what is available part of that design? Fluid responsive 12-column grid system to help page layout. Now, the page itself is going to be having a grid system. Okay. Now, way back, you've seen some part of CSS, right, in Flask, but this is more in that line where the page can be divided into 12 columns. Okay. And this div is 12 columns wide. Okay. so there is some in the CSS, there is some code like that we can put. We say 12, then it's 12 column wide. Okay, so all your components, all the user interface components will fit into that sort of a design. And below you could have a 6 column in one half, 6 other column in the other half, like that. Okay, so look at what you're seeing next here. Um, this is an implementation of a material design. Okay, so the look and feel itself, you have some background color. Okay, you have a card like approach, like contact details. Here is some line, here is a map and a link and a phone link, a fax and number. The contact details are in a certain font and color, and the whole thing is sitting is a card. Okay, and it's like a card placed on paper in real life, right? It's closer to that visualization. So this is how a material design implemented web web page looks like. Okay, here is another one, emergency contact. This is a real website of the fire and rescue department of New South Wales, Australia. Okay, yeah, I pulled this from a real page, a live page. Way at the top it says East 1 Sydney East. So this is one of the counties of that particular state in New South Wales. NSW stands for New South Wales, one of the Australia's states. Okay, and it's saying Sydney East. It's a part of that Sydney County on the east one. Okay, so this is like two cards placed on the page. So way back I said it's 12 column div. So that means 12 pieces of information. So if I say two, then it's a column is like 6 column wide, and the other half is another 6 column wide. So I should specify that when we create the page. Okay, so this is a simple example. Now, how does this look in terms of code? In terms of code, our HTML would have a div, which I said is a section of the page. Okay, div, we've not seen that so much. Okay, we have seen H1, H2, H3 tags. We've seen HTML table form tags, all that. When we say div, class equal to card panel, the div tag ends with /div. Okay, this is HTML. Okay, and when I just say in div class equal to card hyphen panel /div, this is pure HTML, and it knows that it should show this card panel. Okay, so it's that simple. So the material design is again simple. And inside I have some properties. Span is the class equal to blue hyphen text hyphen darken 2. So this written text is appearing in blue in that card. You see this card is here and this written text is in blue. And then it goes this card panel. So by keeping some class names, which are already part of, we have seen the Bootstrap um, design what is that? Bootstrap framework, right? Which is again its own standard of content design, template framework. Okay, so here this is from Google. Okay, div class panel span class equal to like that. So then what you can do now, we started off why we need material design. Why? Because the page itself, uh, now I am bothered about, uh, hold on, web scraping the page. I'm bothered about web scraping the page. So what I'm going to do is I have shown you this page. I want to see this is Sydney East. There could be New South Wales, there could be Melbourne and another Victoria. There could be different counties having different fire stations. Each of this is having some contact details, some emergency contact, some information like that. So now I'm going to bother to gather information from this web page, which is called web scraping. Okay, so web scraping is about gathering, scraping information from web page. To do this, you need to really write to that website admin telling what is your purpose of doing, okay? Because you're going to do scrap information and take away, okay? So whenever you're doing that, any of these public domains, you need to write to them telling I'm going to do that, or it's done for certain purpose. Otherwise, it could be also not, not considered, a proper activity. Okay, though it may not be illegal, but you are to formally inform them getting permission. For academic purpose, you can point to something, but not too often. Okay. Now here, this web page has class div section, class container flow text, class row, class column S12M6. Okay, div class card panel white. So I'll explain what this is. So look at this. There is a row and there's a column S12M6. Okay, 6. Okay, 6 of these columns. Okay, S12M6 is this card. That means inside the page, M6, it's a medium 6 column. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the entire page. Imagine this is the entire page. This card is 6 columns medium. That means half of the page, because I told the page has got 12 columns. Imagine the page had 12 columns and this is 6 and that is 6. Okay, so that's what it means. Div class equal to called S12M6. Okay, and then they put the card panel white. Okay, and then so these are some HTML inside, but then if you go further, H2 contact details, and then P tag we know, para tag, address and these things, and the map and all that. So now if we want to read this information, I should look for a pattern. Okay, that means I have to look for the pattern of this tag. I should look for the pattern of this address information tag. Okay, so my objective is to script what are the fire stations and where are they located. These are the fire stations names and this is their address. Okay, this is a real fire station's address. Now, so that's an address like that. So that address, if you go to view page source in HTML page, view page source, it will show that. Okay, so then you can look for a pattern and read this. Okay, that's exactly what we are going to do. We're here, fire stations within ME1, and it's showing Alexandria Fire Station, Balmain Fire Station, Bondi Fire Station, City of Sydney Fire Station, and their addresses. So if you look for a certain tag in that HTML page, you can take this card title class. That is giving me this. So you look for card title class and then scrape the information. Okay, so that is what we are doing here. So for doing web scraping, okay, it is called, it needs few packages. Whenever you do HTML, you do the request package. This is for HTTP operations, a request and response operation. In this library, a beautiful soup 4. This is another library, okay, which allows you to do web scraping. So here is the URL as it is taken. I have put a particular zone, I mean some ID, and there are several zones inside this. Inside this particular ID. Okay, there are several inside Sydney. These are all different fire stations codes. So they have put as zones. Okay, and that's inside a list. Okay, this is actually a beautiful soup. This is a ramen soup. Why I put there this soup is, if you see, it has got various ingredients. Okay, So when you see there are so once you install this beautiful soup, you use this line of code from BS4 import beautiful soup. Pass the HTML doc. There is a HTML parser and there is an XML parser as well. Parsers allow you to read code. They allow you to read the code, and we'll use this beautiful soups HTML and LXML parsers. If you're using an XML parser, you go with that response. You then pass the HTML doc with the HTML dot parser, and the entire data comes to this soup variable. Okay, so basically this is a ramen soup. It's got various ingredients. Uh, Definitely, what we're going to do is look for the card content class. Okay, now here is another page which is having Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's just a page suggesting various low carb soups, gluten-free low carb soup, and each of which is one card. I want you to look at the pages cards. Okay, each of that is a card. Okay, and so when you have to get to some information in the page, uh, you look for the card content class. So here is the code back again. Now this was the page for the fire stations. The card content is this. You see this? Card stacked div card content class. So card content class is giving you card title and some the p tag is the address. So here when you are trying to do this, the card content class, okay. Now soup dot find all. Now what is this? I took an object called soup is equal to beautiful soup. I use this module to read the page and pass this with the HTML parser. Entire content will come to the soup. Okay, the entire contents in the soup. So this variable is an object of beautiful soup, which will just have the page. Okay, and then on I am going to do soup dot find underscore all. This is a default method of the soup object to read every div, comma, having the class card content. So then what will happen? Everything inside the content will come into this tags object. Yeah, tags object. Now tags object is what we'll iterate through, read it and add each station, each address. So simply it is the same code here. I am going to use the beautiful soup. I have this request dot get URL, the URL as a base and a particular zone. We're passing the URL, getting the response of that URL, passing the response to beautiful soup, and there goes entire content will come to my soup object. Okay. Now, once you have soup dot find all, it will read all the tags. What you're looking for in that is a div tag having a class called card content. So then each card content will come into the tags object here, the tags variable here. We just loop through each of them. We've got two lists, station and address. We loop through the tags for tag and tags, append to tag.span.text, tag.p.text, tag.p.text, and that you're looking for span and p. So that's exactly what it is here. Looking for span tags, looking for the p tag for the address. Span tag is showing the name of the fire station. The p tag shows the address. So of course, whatever you're doing web scraping, you have to open the source code with view source in the web page. Any web page, you go to page view source, you'll see the source code. Okay, and then figure out how the card is. So look for this card content, and then inside what is kept, I have a span tag, and then I have a p tag. Okay, so then this code is written specifically for the purpose. Tag, the first tag dot span dot text and tag dot p dot text are appended to my station list, station and address. So now I have a station and address list objects, two list objects. The first list gets in, the first address, first fire station gets in, the next, and all that. So the lines within this for is scoped here. When that finishes, of course, we have what's called a data frame. Okay, we have not seen this much, but for now, bear with me on that, because a data frame is like a table. Okay, so this is a table. Think of it like rows and columns in like an Excel. And then we are merging these station and address as columns, key and value. So a little bit of code here, but when we do this, you have a data frame of a table and then you print. So what happens, it loops through each of them, it built that, and finally we are printing the table. It will just show the addresses like the fire station and the address. It's a little bit of activity, but this is how you collect the web scraped information from web pages. Okay, need some research onto the web page, the target page from where you're collecting the information. Okay, let me move to the next one called mechanical soup here. Now, what this is about? Yeah, Jocelyn. Okay, you're back. Okay, so the next object is called a mechanical soup. Is a Python library for automating interactions with websites. Now, here is olympus.realpython.org. See, whenever you want to do testing, okay, you need some dummy website. Why? Because this part of it is going to test logging in functionality. Okay. Now, earlier we did web scraping, but now this is about a login page testing. That means any of your application has some content inside. Okay, this is all the Greek gods in Mount Olympus. Okay, it's a dummy data. Okay, but the website is dummied up and kept for real. Okay, why? For application developers to learn. Okay, so there are some websites. Here is an application inside. It's showing various Greek gods with some hyperlink. Okay, the way it works is it's got a login page where Zeus, the god of gods, the king of gods in Greek mythology, he logs in. And when he logs in, he sees all other gods, okay? And he can click on each god to see the information of specific gods, okay? So this is a dummy website called olympus.realpython.org. I'm not logging in right now, but that's how it looks, okay? Zeus enters his username and password. So what is being tested here? His login can be tested. So to automate that login, we have this login testing, we have this mechanical soup. Okay. So we enter a username, his password, and click submit. Here is a button on the login page. Click submit. And then Zeus is taken to the landing page inside. Landing page shows like this. A simple page, Aphrodite, Poseidon, Dionysus, and you can click on each of this to see further information. Then log out, it will come back here. Okay, so now, yeah, this is the URL olympus.realpython.org, and let's look at the code here. Okay, I'm going to need this mechanical soup module. So I import this mechanical soup. Of course, I install this and then import, and then I can say mechanical soup dot browser is equal to browser, you see the entire browser is now back in this variable in one line. Okay, it's a browser, and it's this browser object. Now I'm going to point to a certain URL, and that's my URL. So now if I say browser.get URL, as simple as that, now this login page will allow me to open that page. Okay, so we are opening the page through code, and this is a login page, and page.soup, you get the entire HTML into this variable called login HTML. And then on, we say select this login HTML dot select form 0, the first form in that page. See, the page itself can have, now this is one form. Remember, in the HTML session, I said you create a username and password and have a dummied up data. That was the HTML form tag. So inside the form tag, it had one input tag for the text type and one input tag for the password, another submit button tag. So that's what we're doing here. So here we are going to the first form. Okay, HTML login dot select form 0 is the first form. Okay, there's only one form here, so that comes here. A form dot select input, first input text, value is equal to Zeus. Okay, we are selecting the first form and passing input value as Zeus. So then this Zeus will automatically go into the first field. We are automating the entry into this particular text. Okay, and so that's form.select. The form has an input type of HTML. The first one is the first username, and its value we are setting to Zeus, and this input is password, we are setting the value to Thunderdew. Okay, so that's what's going on here, and then submit the form to go to the profile page. Through code, we are saying browser.submit. Yeah, this browser object is now letting me to log in and hit the button, submit button on the form with this code. Okay, and then the profile page is shown up. Okay, so this is the lines of code for opening this website. We log in automatically. Finally, we fetch all the profiles, look through the profiles, look for the href, that the links of various gods, get that link text and print it out. Okay, this is a certain piece of code we will see as it runs. This is a slightly different form of web scraping. There it printed, I got the output here. Aphrodite is that profile, Poseidon, this profile, Dionysus, this profile. So this is a real page. Okay, so we're not going to do the live activity, but I'm just walking through however the page is available. Okay, so this is the URL for the page, olympus.realpython.org/login. Now that's about automating the login. We have other hands-on. There are better ways to do it also. I just wanted to take this example because this example is there for learning purpose. Okay, so that is how we open a login page and automate the values and then hit the submit button. Though this takes certain lines of code and all that, there are better tools coming downstream. I am parking this hands-on for the moment. Okay, so we will look at automating in a better way with other tools which are like robot framework and so on. Okay, so for now, just be aware that you can write code with mechanical soup to hard wire it or do the automation by writing every code by yourself. Okay, so that's possible. However, we are not doing it at the moment. Okay, this the next one is called test automation with Selenium. Okay, selenium is one of the precious metals in the earth. However, selenium in terms of automation is a software for testing, or a Selenium WebDriver is a testing tool for automating your test cases. Okay, Selenium has a WebDriver which can automate opening pages and so on. See, most of the user interface, it will require some login page testing and so on. So this is what they have a Selenium WebDriver. It's a Selenium software, and WebDriver is one of the drivers to automate the browser page. To the browser page has to be opened automatically and tested. Okay, so what is the Selenium automated test case flow take you as a developer? You have to first install the Selenium software. It's a package. Download a Chrome driver. Now, if you're working with a Chrome browser, there is a Chrome driver which you have to download, and that Chrome driver is an executable file, .exe file. In it'll once you install and download for your desktop, it will sit in one folder. Now, with that, you build a driver object, and using the driver dot get method to fetch the page. Okay, fetch the web page out here, and then you run a script to open the page automatically. So these are the 5 steps which we follow to create an automated test case of opening up any browser. Okay, pip install Selenium. Then you go to chromedriver.chromium.downloads. This is a website which has the Google Chrome's driver. Okay, and they put it out there for various operating systems. We are working on Windows. This one, that's the page, how it looks like. So in this version, the browser is getting upgraded every time. So this is like version 91. If you go to that page, it will show what's the version of the Chrome driver against version 91 currently, which I'm just pointing to. Of course, the current releases could have gone higher, but this fairly is out there. Win32 version, when you go in, you'll see this sort of a driver there, a zip file. And of course, it was some time back, but the zip file downloads to your desktop. Then we keep that Chrome driver in a certain Windows folder. I've kept it like that. Infosure web software CD and driver. From Selenium, import WebDriver. Once you install Selenium and the WebDriver, the Chrome driver file located at one path can be linked in this manner: webdriver.chrome, and point to the executable path of the Chrome driver. The web page now has a driver object. Okay, and that driver object with driver.get, you can get the page. Okay, so then when you run this stuff, when you run these 3 lines of code inside let's say open browser.py, the page will automatically open. From Python, you can run this script, python.openBrowser. Open browser is this my script with 3 lines. You can open the Python, from Python, you can open the Chrome browser automatically. Okay, so this is one method. And here is opening in web page. Driver is our variable, our object. Okay, this is having other WebDriver the Chrome driver and other modules like service and import by it like that. So here what's happening is driver.chrome, you're opening a service object which is pointing to the driver, okay, nothing more. And then as soon as you do driver.get, it'll open this web page. And we can say driver.maximize window. When the page opens, the page may not be fitting in fully into your view of the screen. So maximize window will just make it bigger. And here we go, finding an element and inputting send keys data. So here we are looking for an email field and writing and some email there automatically. Okay, send keys will send this data to the key. All this through code. Okay, so that's by with the CSS selector. These are some standard elements on the page. So you should know what's there as the input text fields of the page. Okay. Now, okay. So let's, okay, then comes image recognition. I'm not going to any of these in terms of code because there is, we will get to some framework called robot framework, which makes everything easier. Okay. Okay. So far we looked at, let me just go back to the agenda page. Okay. We looked at a couple of things. Okay. Let's get back here. We looked at what's material design from Google, basically a card-based approach. Okay. A design language which is allowing software user interface to be built in a certain manner with a card-based approaches, and the color and the font and all that can be set with material design principles. Okay, we just touched slightly on that. Then we looked at as an example for web scraping, beautiful soup. We looked at as an example for automating the login with mechanical soup. Okay, these two lines, these two types of activities, one, web scraping needs a certain permission from live website if you want to build a database from remote sites and so on. Whereas here you're automating the login process, which again, same with Selenium, you're opening a certain web page automatically from Python, and then you're feeding some login information into it, and it logs you in automatically. Okay, I can even show that in one moment. Then open page. Yeah, this so far we have just looked at how to open a page and log in. Let me first show you manually how it looks. What is that? Before we go to automating it, this olympus.realpython.org can be pulled out. Let me see. This is a dummy up learning purpose, okay, page. So there it is. And Zeus, what is it? Thunderbolt, something like that, right? Passcode, Thunderdo, okay. Thunderbolt. And I submit. Oh, okay, it's telling something is wrong with the password. It's Zeus. It's not Zeus. It's Zeus like that. So yeah, so that logged me in, and it's a dummy up site. See, often you don't get to easily use dummy sites, but this is there by realpython.org for just learning purposes. Okay, so then you are now just clicking on Aphrodite, you know, all this details, favorite animal, dove, its name, whatever, and all that. And then you can navigate back Yeah, his hometown is Mount Olympus. Favorite color red. Some info about profile of that god. Okay, and then you can navigate back. I think there was a button here to go back, but never mind. You can come back like with the back button. Poseidon, same way, is some god, dolphin. Blue, hometown is sea. Go back, Dionysus, uh, loves leopards and all that. Then back, and finally this just to showcase. Okay, just you can go back here. Typically, you can have a log out and all. So there are few other dummy up sites where you can practice it. We will see all that. But here I'm just giving some intro to some uh, dummy sites where you can even try. Okay. But automating login, we will check with the robot framework. Okay. So that's why you're not going into any of these. Selenium is used. Now, image recognition with PyAutoGUI. Now we will wrap up in some time, okay? And we'll look at robot framework in the next session as well. But image recognition. Now Python, in terms of what it can do, it has libraries to recognize uh, images. Okay, so image processing libraries like PyAutoGUI are available, and here in this case you can recognize an image. Now, how it recognizes? Let's say there is an image wherein there are few uh, items which you have to count. Okay, so the logic in which it goes is you feed a sample image, okay, and you look for this sample image in that target screen. Okay, so here what we are doing with PyAutoGUI, locate all on screen function locates all the items same as the sample image. A program generates output with the number of items as 3. So I put, in fact, I've got this sample here, but what I've done here is I put grayscale images of this inside this and built a target screen. Okay, so when you open this JPEG file, it will show 3 of them, and then when you have the sample image in that folder, and if you run your Python program with PyAutoGUI, it's going to count how many and show the output as 3. Okay, so that's what this code does, for which you install PyAutoGUI, and there is, because the target image can be slightly, what this is a real image of what at home we make dried applums. Okay, and that is what this image is actually, and my target photo, this can be in, in certain shape. So I've really put the grayscale images here to make my target image. But in your target image, you could take a bigger one, a real one, and feed it to the program. This sample and it's the target images is exactly the same, but in real life, you could have a slight variation, right? So that variation is what we are setting so here is the number of papadums 0 initially. This is my initial value. PyAutoGUI is a Python module. Locate all on screen. You feed this image, the PNG, and say the confidence intervals on this, and it's grayscale. So this is my target image, the screen image. Sorry, this is my screen image. I opened this screen image. I would have fed this sample image. This is that sample image. And then with PyAutoGUI, all the located similar items on screen will come to this variable. Having 71 91 percentage confidence. So confidence here refers to the match. Okay, that means in this case, it is not this puppet is different. This is the same as this puppet. But if in real life, if I put this for drying to make the puppet, we dry this, right? So if I put this for drying, each of that puppet laid down could have a variation from the target image. Now, how well it matches to that uh, sample in the target image would have some variation. So if it is, you pick the confidence interval at 71%, that's what this is doing, 71.9, roughly 72 percentage of match is there, you count it as one. That's what this confidence says. For puppet in puppets, print puppet, and I'm adding. And finally, I can count the number of images, okay, from the target. So, and raise some alert. PyAutoGay allows you to raise alert. These are some simple programs. There are advanced ways to match it. Here we are doing some image recognition, counting the number in an image, okay, which is one functionality of image processing. There are other Python library like OpenCV for image recognition, okay, OpenCV for taking an image and converting to grayscale, such operations is there. But again, just for information only, okay. Then, yeah, in terms of image recognition, you might ask, hey, now a lot of artificial intelligence is going on. Can we not use AI for it? Yes, you can do. And there are some language models to recognize images. Okay. Uh, so these are these are called generated adversarial networks, or JNs. When if you look at artificial intelligence recognizing objects, they do have models which are pre-trained, and that model can recognize much like a human. Okay. In simple example, let me see if I have that. Uh, well, image. We will look at it later, but I think it's in the dev environment. Just to give some sample of what I'm talking about, dev. DHI. I had a sample image I was looking at, it is there, but it can do such identify count number of, it can test count much like a human. Okay. So yeah, we will not go there at the moment, but know that there are more advanced ones than PyAutoGui, okay, which are artificial intelligence based, and those use models for locating, okay, and counting images, okay. So that's one of the applications for image processing. Image processing, it can identify objects based on prior training, okay. It can be without any prior training, because the model can automatically identify an image and say, hey, this is an apple, or that is a dog, things like that, okay. So there are models which you can use in code, yeah, to recognize and count objects. So image recognition, and even you can count from the images, okay, instead of doing like this with PyAutoGate, okay. Now PyTest, I will get to the end of it with PyTest. Now we'll do a small, uh, yeah, Okay, so PyAutoWay. PyTest is another Python package for making tests of Python code. Okay, PyTest is simple and powerful Python testing tool. Of course, this is installed within the project, and PyTest allow you to test the code. Every test in Python, let's say you write a function, it needs to have a test script to test that function. Okay. Now PyTest supports reusable fixtures. We'll see what fixtures are. It can support parameterized testing. Supports reusable fixtures. Fixtures are some functions which I can use as constants. Okay, I can reuse a function. Okay, and parameterized testing is I can pass a stream of data. Okay, I could have a function and I could pass like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like values. Okay, as input and output or whatever. So parameterized testing is like you're passing a stream of input and efficient, easily maintainable tests. Okay, so what I'll do, go to the hands-on to just show that one time. So let me just quickly, I'll wrap with this here. We are almost there. We'll start robot testing next session. Okay, that's more hands-on actually. So allow me just, we are starting PyCharm. You don't have to do anything. Just watch. I will do it here. Um, Once I do the hands-on here, you can try it at your end later, okay? But for now, just watch and show PyTest, okay? PyTest. Um, so PyTest here can be done from just the DOS prompt also, but here in this example, we have PyCharm project, okay? Wait, are you able to see the screen, Sriram, Jocelyn?
Yes.
Okay, quite simple. I created a new project. Okay, it's located under this folder, PyTest project. Okay, nothing inside it except let's say start with a main.py. Okay, and that's out here. And if you see, I have just one single function inside it. Okay, def area, taking a parameter, I mean, a parameter called km for kilometers, okay, colon, return areas kilometer into kilometer. I'm just taking it as a square, okay. So it returns the area, okay, just one function. So let's say you wrote a function like this, okay. Now to test this function, um, of course, in this project, you have to install PyTest, and I go to settings, and much like you did Flask installation, this is another installation, nothing more. Okay, so PyTest is here. I pointed to some uh, um, this interpreter installed and all that. Here you have an editor wherein one more setting on the editor is there. File editor or not editor in general, a few other settings. Okay, code editor, inline completion, inspection. There are too many out there. This It is tools. Under tools, you go to Python integrated tools. Okay. This is one of the setting. It's not under editor, pardon me. Settings, tools, and then it goes to Python integrated tools. And if you set a test runner here to PyTest, okay. So of course I've installed PyTest with that Python interpreter and added the PyTest here. The default runner for testing. Runner is a run for each of the process. You'll understand what a runner is. I could have multiple tests and each of that run is allowing me to be calling it as a runner. Okay. So runner. So once PyCharm is installed and was I have a code like this. Okay, this simple example. I have main.py. I have a single function which is area and it needs to be tested. So what you do is you click inside these lines of code. I just right click. It has a generate option. Okay, I click generate and it gives you test dot dot dot. Okay, the moment you click on test dot dot dot, it allows you to create a test for this function. Okay, and then I click OK. Okay, so then it is going to create a test file for this file name with test underscore main.py. So all the time main.py will have its test. The convention is prefixing the file name with test underscore. Now this is a test file for this file. Okay. So when I choose that create test from that window which just popped up, it will take me to here. Okay. It will take me here where I have some tests. Okay. Where I have some tests. So I do import PyTest, import main. Okay. And then I have test underscore one, every test function. It could be first test, second test, test two, test underscore two. And I could just say assert main area. And this is staged slightly. Okay, I could say assert a value on the left is equal to value on the right. So that means I can check 1 equal to 1 or some tests I'm doing. Though in this case, I'm using something here. I will take this off momentarily. Just let me get it to the initial state. I'll comment this. This is not the current example, but yeah, we don't need this at the moment. Let me just take. Okay. So my first test, I'm not passing any home here at the moment. The first is I am importing main because that's my original file. I import main and then start using main.area. You know, if you have to import something, you can use the functions inside that file. That's all what's happening here. I import main and then start using main.area. So assert is a statement in Python which is used for testing typically. What it asserts, main.area, is it equal to 1000? I can test that function main.area is equal to value, and that's used in assert. If this returns, if this is true, it will return pass. If this is not true, it will error. In my case, see this, it's area of 10 will give me 100, not 1000, right? So this test will fail. Now I got another test, okay, which is again like I'm commenting it for the moment. It's not my home and all that. I'll get to the example. But main test area I'm passing 100. Okay, so I could write test like this and run it. Okay, so when I have to run, I click with this option, PyTest in test main. I'm running this. I run this and it gives me certain output. Okay, so what it does is it's running PyTest. Okay, it is running PyTest with this option. If you can see this, that's what it's the test runner, what we are running. Uh, okay, and giving me an output. Okay, so test underscore main ran test one failed, half 50%. It failed. It failed because it tested here assert main dot area of 10 return 100, and that is not equal to 1000. So this output is giving me it failed, and this is where the problem is. 100 is not equal to 1000. It expected 1000, but actual value was 100. Anytime you do testing, there is an expected value and there is an actual value of the function. So the actual value of the function I gave deliberately here as area of 10, which will give me actual as 100, and I put expected value deliberately as 1000. So it failed. Okay, whereas in the second test, if you see, the second test passed. Okay, when it passed, it doesn't show any problem. Whereas only if it failed, it will show exactly what is expected and what. So this is how PyTest works. Okay, PyTest works like this. You can test individual functions, but the convention you should use is test underscore some name. Every time it should start with test underscore name. So this function was tested now in this manner. But when you have to use area 10 here, it is repeated in two tests, right? This function is called twice with the same value. So any changes to be done, it is not easy to maintain it. You have to go about changing data or something at every line of code. That's when you have what's called a fixture. Okay, a fixture here. A fixture is a certain function. I have defined the function my home and I put some constant here as main.area.10. It returns that. Now, um, this data area 10 is declared, I mean, it defined only one place and it's inside the fixture. Okay. Now that's the fixture decorator. Okay. I'll just take it out. And that fixture is unresolved PyTest. I'll come to it. So that picture allows me to use the name my home inside these like this. And now my home I can pass directly because that picture allows me to use a single name, and instead of writing it multiple times like main.area, it allows me to define once, call it with this decorator, pytest.fixture, and over here I can all use uh, one time. Now, if I have to change something, I can change here, and that would just do at one place. Okay, import pytest. Okay, import pytest. So now what happens? It's easy to maintain the code because I've got some constant like function name being used. So this is just the picture doing the job. Okay, it will work same like last time. Okay, past one, failed one. Okay, so the first one failed. So now if I change this, yeah, of course I have to make change in one place here. I can change one location 4, and that will do for all my tests. So whenever you have to make a change, it's easy to maintain such code with fixtures. So that's the capability of PyTest with fixtures. Okay, it ran, the output is here. it gave 16 here, and again the other one it failed as well. So the second one, wait, the second one is given some assert error. Let me see. Test 2 also failed. Test 2 also failed. Both are 16, not 1000 and 100. So the moment I change this value to the correct value, it will just come back. Okay. So let me say this is 10. Both tests are now going to pass. So both of them pass. Test 1 pass 50%, test 2 pass 100%. So it collected 2 items, means it picked up the test cases and it completed with success. With success, it will not show any error. There will not be expected value, actual value, which comes like that. So this is a pretty simple PyTest scenario. Of course, now for fixtures, I have another example which uses same way, okay, but it does a parameter set of values, okay. So what's happening here is I have a class inside which I got square and cube, same way, like this is square and that's cube, okay. Much like an area function, I just took it across square, and I have another two functions here. Since I have two functions, I can create a class, and that class is app, and it's just, this is a test class, okay. It will let you create this and you import the app here, okay. From app, you're importing the main class here. And then your test class, we are starting first line of code, app is equal to app, okay. Same picture here. Okay, I got one slight modification of the picture here, because you have request dot param, and that's kilometers. What it does is request is a free object available inside fixtures to point to a parameterized testing. That means I'm going to have this square to be tested. Instead of passing one value, now obviously here I pass square of 2 is equal to 4, it will pass the test. But instead of passing one value, I want to take it through a stream of values, 2, 3, 4 likewise. So this is called a parameterized testing. I can do pytest.mark.parameterize, and that's going to do the job for me. Okay, so here a slight modification. Request takes in the values of each time what I'm passing and puts it to a variable, and that's what I'm returning as square kilometers. So here square kilometers function, and that's put as a fixture. Now once it's put as a fixture, I can directly call this name to test. Okay, here is assert square kilometer equal to 9. Okay, so let's run this test. Okay, of course you can ignore this test queue that was to demonstrate the class, but to parameterize a test, I have, okay, let me run this. So there will be more than one test. There are 5 items collected, the test square, test cube, which pass. You can see test area is parameterized 2, 3, 4. Each time it took the value. And in the first parameter testing, 2 square is not 9. Expected 9, actual is 4, it failed. In the second, it still it passed the second test, okay, whereas the third one failed, because it passed the second test because 3 square is 9, and that passed the second test, okay. And the third one failed because 3 square is, sorry, 4 square is 16 and it's not 9, so that failed. So that's why it's giving like 2 failed, 3 passed. Okay, the cube has passed anyway. So you can do PyTest like this to test individual functions. You can as you see here, you can use a constant like fixture name, use it in your functions, or you could use that and pass a parameterized manner of data to the fixture. Of course, so this in a fixture, and you use a request, and that goes in as your parameter being passed to return a value. The whole function is now a constant, so I can uh, do square kilometers of 2, 3, 4 with this parameterized to do my testing. Assert 1 equal to 1, it's true. 1 equal to 0 is false. If a condition returns true, it will pass the test. And PyTest will give that passed output. Okay. If a condition is false, it will go ahead and tell what's expected, what is actual, and then it will say this test has failed. Okay, so that's what PyTest does, and wraps it up all that in one list like this. You can also, you have another PyTest HTML to show HTML outputs as well for this. Yeah. Yeah, it can show HTML report outputs with one more Python package being installed. I just did that a while ago, and then you can see this. It gives a HTML output of how much pass, how many fail, and here the same was run. This same test, the 5 result test is here. 2 failed, 3 pass, and gives an output in a web page. All this, yeah, here are the other tests which pass. Here are the ones which fail. So this is how this requires some module called PyTest HTML to be installing and giving an output which is summarized in this format. It does tell how much time it took for these 5 tests and all that. We have tools like Robot Framework, which here we are doing the code at a lower level, but the framework can do it for you as well. We'll see that in tomorrow's class. Okay. You have any questions? Of course, it's some whole lot of information, but you don't need to know everything. I just took you through certain aspects to keep you aware. What the market requires would be some test frameworks. Okay, you can definitely meddle with PyTest and try your hands on this, and I will send this project across. And also, you tomorrow we will take a look at robot test framework. Okay, this is used by companies like Wipro and many other organizations. It has some neat output like that, and you can go into details like that. So pretty neat work done in terms of what testing tool can be, and that's what we will look at in tomorrow's session. Okay. Uh, any questions that I can take? Of course, it's a quick review. Okay. We'll do a hands-on on robot testing tomorrow. Okay. It requires a pip install and all that. We'll continue in the next session. Okay. Tomorrow's session. Okay. Okay, Jaslin and Sriram.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
This deck, I will put it on the shared drive. You can review it even before coming to tomorrow's session. Okay. All right, then we will meet tomorrow at the same time. Okay. Okay, then have a good day. Yeah. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Aditya.
Bye.